Hey everyone, and thanks for joining me back here again. We will be diving into a brand new FNAF fan game that takes the core aspect of Five Nights at Freddy's and twists it in a way that is unique yet scary. And that game is A Bite at Freddy's. You see, when it comes to FNAF fan games, it is very rare when a person, such as myself, decides to dive a little deeper. This is because I think over the years the community has declined in good FNAF games in my opinion. While yes, there are some amazing ones out there that produce a great product and is really enjoyable and well made, the bigger majority of them are usually just some bad FNAF ripoff or clone. Just like the Return to Bloody Nights, A Bite at Freddy's takes the FNAF experience and enhances it tenfold, displaying its great craftsmanship and art direction. And like I always say, if you haven't played or watched this game for yourself, you should totally do so before watching this video. From this game's gameplay to its animatronics and design, it really makes itself seem like an original product. The game is set in Freddy Fazbear's Grill rather than Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which is a tiny little difference. The layout is completely different, but it still has a classic FNAF sprinkle in it. You see with its office, a supply closet, and a parts and service room. But rather than being just a basic replica of the OG FNAF 1 loop, the game's gameplay is completely unique from it and has a really fun experience to play through. Gameplay in specifically FNAF horror games is what sets it apart from the crowd, and this game does that to a T. It has its survival aspect, but what's also in the game is that the phone guy tells you you have orders to deliver, which is the task you have to do to complete in order to finish the night. This is already different from the 12 to 6 time mechanic. With the orders, they are shipped on a conveyor belt, which is sent from the starting point to 2 party rooms and then your office. And once they arrive, the night is over. It isn't that simple though. The animatronics have their individual mechanics that throw a massive curveball at the difficulty in the game. The animatronics in this game are the same they are in FNAF 1, but they all have different mechanics from before. Starting with Bonnie, Bonnie being the first one that moves like always, makes his way toward your office. From here, he moves into the closet like he normally does. Then he makes his attack. What makes it different though is that he's repelled by darkness rather than doors. In order to make him leave, you have to turn off the power in the building, which causes the bunny to exit. You would think that he would go into another room and try again, but that's not exactly what happens. Bonnie has 3 different positions when he appears when you need to repel him. Each of them are quite hard to see, and if you aren't paying attention, you'll definitely miss him. Is this it? No. On top of this, remember how I said the phone guy sent the orders on a conveyor belt? Well, in your office, you notice there's a vent-looking thing to your left. This is the conveyor belt the phone guy uses. Also, in other rooms, there are these vent-looking things you can close the door to. While Bonnie primarily shows up in your office, he can also go into the kitchen and get on the conveyor belt. If he shows up right beside you, you have to flip the switch on the wall, which makes the belt turn off to repel him. You see, this hidden mechanic really makes the game unboring. The game is aware that the player can get used to Bonnie, so this little twist makes sure that the player is always paying attention. Chica in this game has completely different mechanics than normal. Instead of acting similar to Bonnie or doing exactly what Bonnie does, Chica makes her way to you, eventually ending up right in front of your desk. From here, you have a little gun that you have to use and have a standoff with her by shooting it when she rises from the desk. If done successfully, she will leave, but if you're not fast enough and am not aiming correctly, your game will end with a jump scare. This gameplay change makes the game much more fun to play and adds a difference from a normal FNAF game. While this is her main attack like Bonnie's, she will also make attempts to get to the conveyor belt to attack you. By doing this, it adds complexity to the game and makes it great to play. Now, the 2 most interesting characters have the biggest changed mechanics, being Freddy and Foxy. Freddy has 2 things that he will do. He will either make his way to you using the vent above the office or climb onto the conveyor belt like the others, and what they all do whenever they're not using their primary source of attack. Once he is in the vent, you need to turn on the fan blades to get rid of him. While he is much more simple, that doesn't mean he isn't a threat. Being that he moves around a lot, and it isn't until a second playthrough that you realize how simple he is. But regardless of this, he's still an interesting character to throw into the mix. An interesting thing with Freddy is that if he's close enough to where the fan is and you activate it, it will actually sever Freddy's head off, and then Freddy will become headless until you die or complete the course. Once this happens though, Freddy becomes much more active and much more violent toward getting into the vent. To be honest, this is a very hidden twist that makes it honestly really cool and a lot more different than any normal FNAF game. It's honestly a fantastic addition for him. Foxy is definitely the most simple to deal with. Once activated, he will make his way toward parts and service. From here, he will try to tamper with the power in order to stop it. You will have to refresh the cameras. Now you would think that he would just return into his stage and start all over like normal. Well, no. Instead, he wanders around the pizzeria and will hop onto the conveyor belt if it's not closed. Like with Freddy, him wandering around adds a lot more chaos and keeping track of the animatronics. You see, there's also a couple other details that are thrown into this game that are quite nice little things to see. For example, each time a new threat is added, the phone guy makes it clear on how to get rid of them before the night starts. And while yes, this does make it easier to deal with, it allows for much more fun gameplay rather than blindly trying to figure out mechanics. Another little thing is that you can actually see the chef or phone guy that is cooking the orders in the kitchen. This is just a minor detail though, but it adds something cool into the game. The last major thing of this game definitely has to be the art direction. In my opinion, the art here is better than the Return to Bloody Nights, with the unique direction it's taken in. The animatronics in this game have a Chuck E. Cheese type design. Being that they don't have legs, it is really similar to how they are in real life. Also, being that Foxy is a freaking scientist is really dope and shows that it's not trying to be a FNAF clone. My favorite thing about the art direction is the sum of the meme-like scenes that the animatronics make, especially Foxy. As Spiff once said, Foxy has that wire riz.
Gosh, Foxy's like lustily looking at those cords. Oh, I just want to eat those fucking cords.
Well guys, you know, this game definitely is quite an easier one from your normal FNAF game, but it's definitely a game I think that should be definitely dove into. Now, there is one more aspect of this game that you wouldn't know about until you play through the whole thing, and that is the final course. You see, there are 3 normal nights which are called courses. Then you have this next one called the final course. In this, you have one more threat added known as Threadbare. He's basically the Fredbear of this game, and basically he acts as Freddy would. He comes into the vent and you have to repel him with a fan, but he also tries to climb onto the conveyor belt as well. Being that this is the final challenge, much of the AI in this is much more enhanced and adds the game a lot more chaos. To be honest with you, the animatronics uniqueness and how each animatronic's movement and design is unique adds a lot of more replayability through these games. I feel like if like Chica and Bonnie had the same mechanics, it would make the game feel a lot more FNAF 1. And the fact that it doesn't do this adds a lot to the game. The art in general, just how everything is designed and how the cameras are, is really well done. If you look at each camera, they each have a pretty well crafted design and you can see everything clearly. Now this is a lot different from your dingy camera type style, but it still adds a lot to the game in my opinion. Well guys, that about wraps up for today's video. This is much shorter than normal, but this game is definitely a shorter one to look at. I do think though that it is a game that has a lot put into it. And like I said, if you haven't played this game or watched it, you should definitely go do that. Well, yeah guys, that wraps it up. And again, take a drop on a bite at Freddy's. And if you guys enjoyed, be sure to subscribe and drop a like. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And well, I'll see you in the next one. Stay awesome, God bless, and peace.